Well, good morning or good afternoon to you, wherever you might be joining us from here today. We are Thursday, August 14th, and you're joining us for the Smarter Reporting with Spire Filters, Views, and MS Power BI with my friend, the Power BI coach. My name is Katie Griffin. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Spire Systems, and I am so excited to introduce Shannon Lynch, founder and consultant of the Power BI Coach, one of our newest Spire integration partners that we've been very pleased to welcome into the community. Shannon, how are you today?
I am fantastic. Happy to be here with you and with all the wonderful folks today.
Fantastic. It's so great. I'm excited to introduce you to our Spire users that are here in the audience. And a funny little story before I get started of how the Power BI Coach and Spire came together. As many of you know, we had launched the Power BI connector in version 3.12 of Spire last year or so. And I got an email one day that said, "Hi, I'm Shannon Lynch, the Power BI coach. I see that Spire has developed a Power BI connector, and I would love to work with you." And we literally had the webpage up for a day, and you found us, and it was just kismet. I think we were meant to connect and build an integration. So it's great to have you here, folks. If you've joined me before, I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping with you. You have a virtual hand that you can raise, and that will tell me that you can see my screen, which is just my housekeeping slide deck, and you can hear my voice and everything. Nathan, thank you so much for raising your hand. I appreciate that. Wonderful. And Jane, I'm going to go ahead and lower and James, wow, thanks everyone. I'll go ahead and lower your virtual hands now, and we'll get the show started. This is episode 7 out of 10 of our podcast style webinar series. Why is it podcast style? Because it is both conversational and demonstrative. We're going to be talking about the topic today, and we're also going to be demoing some things in Spire. And as well, Shannon is going to be showing pretty cool stuff about Microsoft Power BI. So we invite you to think outside of the box when you're sitting in this webinar, get out of the minutia of your day-to-day and think about the topic and how it relates to you. We do have a mixed audience here. Some of you are in the process of procurement of a new software, somewhere in that journey. Some of you are brand new to Spire, and some of you have been clients for a very long time. And we do have some partners in the audience as well. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. So we're going to talk about some best practice stuff. We're going to talk about data. We're going to talk about filters and views. And as always, if you have any questions, we invite you to contact your Spire partner. If you don't have one or you don't know who your Spire partner is, you're more than welcome to reach me, and my contact details will be up at the end. Okay, let's get this show on the road, because I promised Shannon I'd only take 15 minutes. I know you guys want to see more of him than you do of me. So when we talk about reporting, Shannon, there are, I like to categorize things, right? So I've categorized reporting in 4 main areas when I think about an organization. And we talk about different stakeholders that need to be looking at reports. We talk about managers. We talk about the frequency of reports. What kind of changes are we going to make on those? But operational reports, when we talk about the day-to-day stuff that goes on, whether it's purchasing or if you're in manufacturing, production is obviously a big thing. And these are, often used by those managers that are in charge of those departments and in the day-to-day movement of a company. We have strategic reports at a very high level. A lot of analytics go on there. I think you see a lot of that in your world also, Shannon. Often reports that our C-suite executives or higher level management team members depend on in order to make those decisions for the organization. Performance reports, sales, we're always looking at the performance of sales. We're wanting to look at specific KPIs when it comes to sales as well. Customer service, I always say acquisition and retention are equally as important when it comes to your customers, and being able to get a temperature on how that's going is very important and would be done through those reportings. And of course, the accounting department and the finance department, which always seems to be an afterthought for some reason, but highly dependent on the tax filings, on the P&Ls, on the financial statements of all kinds, and so various types of reporting. And Shannon, before we get into a bit of Spire and Power BI, there really is 2 kinds out there. There's the static reporting and the dynamic reporting.
Right.
And you know, both are good, right? Both serve a purpose. But as the world of technology evolves and as the need for information and the immediacy of it evolves, dynamic reporting seems to be more favorable. But static reporting really is giving you a snapshot of that data, kind of fixed in time, frozen in time. Often it can be exported to a PDF or an Excel or even printed if people are still printing paper these days. But there aren't very many interactive features often. You can't typically drill down or manipulate too much unless you're really powering it over into Excel. But it's still very good, and it is easy to share those kinds of reports. They're reliable. Usually the format of them is consistent as well, and you know, pretty much used for the accounting department who doesn't like change, and there's that consistency, right? I think also that there's some cons, like we talked about, limited flexibility. It can be time sensitive. That information expires by the minute, maybe, depending on, you know, what business you're in. It does require to regenerate that report every time, so that data won't be fresh every time you look at it, and often is limited to desktop solutions, right? They're not often beyond that. So if that's right for your organization, okay. But as we move forward in technology, like I said, dynamic reporting, where there is those dashboards, Shannon, you know, very popular word being thrown around there, dashboards, but that high level view is what we're talking about. The ability to drill down from within that, that's the interactive aspect, right? And it is live data. So meaning every time you launch that report, it is pulling that freshest data, and often web-based. So you can see that information from anywhere, right? Definitely a lot of pros in that. I think one of the things I find the most top of my list as a pro is that providing deeper insight. As somebody who's in marketing, that's again a term that gets thrown around so much. Looking for meaningful corporate insight, deeper corporate insight, right? But what does that actually mean? And it means that you can look at the data in front of you and make projection decisions and make those, you know, anticipated moves that you need to do. And a static report won't do that for you. They are harder to maintain. They are a little bit harder to learn, and they often will come with additional costs because it will be an add-on in some respect. But lucky for us, we've got you here, and you're going to talk to us about what those costs might be and how you can learn using Power BI and all that good stuff. So at the end of the day, static will really just think of it as, you know, a moment in time, a time capsule of that information that you're mining, while your, you know, dynamic reports are live data. And because our Spire customers work with live data, Shannon, I think that they will lean more towards dynamic reports. Batches are not very good in an inventory world, right? Counting can deal with it, but anyhow, let me jump into Spire just really quickly. I want to show a couple of things when it comes to, it is a bit of static reporting, if you will, meaning that you know, it's fixed onto your desktop, number one, and it doesn't reach into multiple different data sets, which I'll mention. But within each module, the Spire filter is really powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that you can see my screen here. Let's see. Okay. Shannon, can you confirm that you can see my Spire? Awesome.
All
That's
good.
great. Okay, so for those of you who've never seen Spire, here it is. It is a modular system. On the left-hand side, we've got all of our Spire modules fully integrated to one another, and these can be moved around as you want to adhere to, you know, however you conduct your work throughout the course of the day. These columns and rows, very Excel-like. There's a lot going on here, but I can just right-click and choose to see everything or whatever is pertinent to my particular role within the organization. But within this grid is the fantastic ability to do filters. And filters are great for that one quick question. Shannon, you know, the one where it's knocking at your office door. I just have one quick question, just one quick, and it's it's never a
There's
quick
never just
question.
one. It's never just one either.
That's right. It's not, I want this, and then, oh, what if this and that, right? And that's where filters and Spire can really come in handy. Okay, and they can be as simple or as complex as you'd like. over here in the inventory menu or the module menu, I'm just going to open that up and drill down into inventory, and you can see all the different saved filters that I have. And in order to create those up here at the top, I'm just going to click filters. You see a little bit of information drop down there. And let's say I have a vendor that has just let my buyer at the company know that they're having a huge sale on all the equipment that we happen to buy from them. So now I want to go into inventory and I want to see, okay, what is that, right? So I'm going to just go ahead and I can select my vendor, and the vendor that told me about this particular sale that they're having is the fitness development equipment, our good friends over there. And the kind of inventory that we buy from them is not manufactured, it's not kitted, it's just a normal piece of inventory. So as you can see, folks, I'm going down further and further and querying and refining. Now, the product code in Spire, you have product codes, very important to be using those. The product code that we are assigning to the equipment that we buy from this vendor is equipment only, and that's what happens to be on sale. Now, I want to make sure that I know how much of anything I have within this. So what is available on quantity? Anything that is zero. Okay, there's none of it available because I'm not going to order if I have some, and I'm not going to order if any of these items are already on order. Maybe my buyer already has a PO out there. And here we have a refined list of there's none of the available quality. It's all of the equipment product, all from the same vendor. It's all normal type of inventory that I'm looking for. I can further add another one, again, as complex or as simple as I may want it to be. I'm going to say, okay, now I only want items, the equipment items that are serialized from that. Okay, and quite easily I can select all of them and create a requisition for the buyer in my company. I'll go ahead, hit process. I can print that out if I want. I'll close that up, and then over here in requisitions, the newest requisition will appear at the top and be able to be purchased from there. I can also query and make filters in requisitions. If I'm the buyer for the company and I just want to focus on new requisitions that are maybe from this year or this date that are reorder quantity greater than 50, then I can pull these kinds of reports and answer quick questions that way with views and filters. I've only got a couple minutes here, so I'm going to squeeze on over to sales. Sales, we talked about how much it is important to be able to have key performance indicators and be able to kind of see where we're at. But another scenario that's very common lately in sales is I want to know how many sales I made that were below a certain margin, and maybe I'm selling them into a different country where now I have to reconsider my margins and my costs. So, for example, I am going to say in sales history, where I can see all of the transactions that have taken place, I'm going to say I want to see any sales that were made where the margin was less than 25%. And I hate to pick on anyone, but I want to know if any of these sales were made in the USA, because it costs me a bit more money to do that these days. So these filters can go ahead and work that way with you. In accounts receivables, another great way to be able to manage things is user-defined fields and being able to report on those. We create lovely little quick tricks that help you collect money. We all love to see money coming in that way, and user-defined fields are all queryable. They're all reportable as well, and so they can be quite powerful in terms of answering those quick questions. So we put in information about who is expected to be paid and whatnot, and then I can create a promise to pay filter very easily just by reporting on those user-defined fields. If the expected payment date is greater or on a certain date, the amount is greater or on a certain amount, and everything in the grids can be exported to Excel, easily export that, and from there you can be able to do your own kind of pivot tables and graphs if you'd like. But this is outside of Spire. It's not live. I can't drill down in there, unlike what Power BI is able to give you deeper analytics on. Couple of last minute things. Reporting in Spire comes with almost 200 built-in management reports, aside from filters. And you'll find that under company settings in reports. Under security, you have a list of all of the different reports that come with Spire. These are built in Crystal, and you probably don't speak Crystal. It's kind of like a foreign language, but your Spire partner can help customize reports for you if you do need to do that. You can add custom header and footer messages on these reports or statements that you're issuing from Spire if you wanted to. And if I go ahead and close that under user settings, when we talk about filters, not everybody should have the power to create those filters or delete or manipulate those filters. And so under a user setting in general, we simply have create, modify company filters. Maybe you just want people looking at those filters so that they can have answers to those one quick questions that they might have. Okay, Shannon, I'm 1 minute over, but I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to make you the presenter, Shannon. You should get an invite to do that right about now.
I do. Let me just tee up my screen here.
Perfect.
All right. Perfect. Are you able to see my screen, Katie?
Yes.
Yes, good to
Yes.
go. All right, thank you so much. And again, excited to be here, folks, with you. And what my goal is to walk you through Power BI. Now, Power BI is simply a tool, all right? It's not a silver bullet. It is a great tool, but again, there are some principles that I really want to underscore, right? And it has to do with data integrity and quality. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll also look at an actual live demo. So I'm going to give you some baseline understanding in terms of the Power BI ecosystem, how it works, what it is, how it integrates perfectly with Spire, and also if you are a Microsoft user such as Outlook or PowerPoint or any other of the Microsoft suite products, how it naturally integrates there as well. Before I do so, Katie, I'm going to pose this question to you.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you the question, what do you think is the big data problem that most organizations face today?
I would say garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, and you're quite right. It's literally disenfranchised data all over. You can ask maybe two people or two people who come to you with a number, and both numbers should be the same, but they are different. All right. So I think this coins it quite well. It's being data rich and insight poor. Like that's really what it boils down
Yeah.
to. So we may have a lot of data within our Spire systems and also in various other systems, but being able to harness that information in a conducive way to leverage it for insight is where a lot of people do fall short, right? And it's a common problem that's not industry based. It's really agnostic, and I've seen it across many domains, all right? Now, some quick stats here, really quickly going to blow through these. Forrester research found that less than 1% of organizations are actually harnessing their data. Now, I want to present this because I want you to think in terms of it's not just about reporting, but there's actual value that's tied to how we leverage data. Data is the new coin of the realm, right? It's how we transact. If you think about the amount of data that we're using on a daily basis, even in our personal life. Now think about what that 1% translates to. Could be sale opportunities or new inroads in new businesses, right? So just think about what that 1% really can represent. Here's another quick stat here, right? This was McKinsey. This was released a few years ago that says that customer retention is 23 times more likely for a company that is more data driven. They're 23 times more likely to acquire new customers faster than their competition. So that says a lot, being able, again, to harness the power of your data. So I like to preface the conversation because a lot of this is built on top of not only how do we use data, but again, Power BI is just simply a tool. We have to understand how that data can work for us. So what exactly is Power BI, right? I don't want to take for granted that there may be some folks here who have never seen a Power BI report. But essentially, Power BI is a business intelligence tool that enables organizations to analyze, sort, and visualize their data in a meaningful way. All right. So I always like to say it's almost like if Microsoft Excel and Access sort of had a baby, right? It's kind of like this merger of
Yeah.
these two applications, which in their rights are used for specific things. But what this does is it gives you a single source of truth for all of your data to live, and it's basically a repository. It's a data aggregator, and it's a fully stacked suite that gives you the capability to build charts and graphs and to easily share them within your organization and also externally with your clients as well. All right.
One way I like to break it down for clients, Shannon, is also that, it's not limited to one software, mining data from one software. So if you're running Spire and you're running maybe another application like an e-commerce or a servicing software or a CRM or even a manufacturing specific software, that Power BI allows you to get data from all over the place to have that report, that analytics of that
Absolutely.
everything, not just accounting, not just inventory, right? And not just Spire. So
Absolutely. And that's the benefit, right? You have that single source of truth. It aggregates your data all in one place. And you know what you can do with that is you can tell a complete story. So, no longer are you dealing with data silos. Now everything is aggregated and you can tell a holistic story. So whether it's marketing, whether there are correlations between a marketing campaign and the sales revenue, you can draw those comparative analysis by using Power BI and visualizing that quite easily with the visual components that's available within the application. Speaking of the benefits, here are some quick benefits of Power BI. One, it automates the data ingestion process. So let's think if you are a Spire user or if you have data somewhere else out there in the universe, you are able to automate how that data is being sourced from wherever it is into Power BI on a regular cadence. So if this is something that you need to do on a daily basis or monthly, Power BI allows for that automation. And as you mentioned, it unifies all of these sources cohesively. We can produce real-time dashboards and interactive reports and advanced analytics right out of the box. So you
right.
don't have to be a coder or a number cruncher, you know what I mean? By the way, finance folks love Power BI. We've been doing a lot of transition from the Excel spreadsheets into Power BI, and they just love it. Again,
Amazing.
there's that natural synergy between the two
Yeah.
applications, and it doesn't have to be an either or, it can be a both and. And of course, there's deep integration with Microsoft ecosystem. So if you are a Microsoft shop, if you're using Outlook and PowerPoint, SharePoint, there's just this natural integration that's built right in. And the reason, why we really recommend Power BI. There's a lot of players out there in the game, but Power BI for the past 15 years and the Gartner, which is sort of the benchmarking system that's used to analyze all of these different software solutions out there, has rated Power BI in the analytics and BI platform for the 15 years straight in the leader quadrant. So I say this that Microsoft has been doing a fantastic job at iterating this product to the place where it is now really providing a lot of value to the customer. All right, let's take a look at the workflow. And these slides are just a preface. We're going to go into a demo, so we'll be doing some hands-on, but I just want to show you the actual ecosystem and how things work within the context of Power BI. And it all starts with being able to curate or to fetch your data. So in this case here, you can use the custom Spire connector that allows you to connect to your Spire database, and you can fetch data from those tables.
Yeah.
You will then need to have the Power BI desktop application. It is a free application from Microsoft. You can download it today right off of the Microsoft website. And this will allow you to begin to author or to build your reports in this desktop environment. Think of it as almost like your workspace, right? It's almost like a workbench where you do all of your data modeling and you start building your graphs and charts. Once you've completed or you've built your reports, you're typically not sharing the file as you would like in Excel. You can, however, share a PDF, But the typical way for end user consumption would be to publish this into a cloud space, which is called the Power BI web service. And this allows you to disseminate these reports, as you mentioned, Katie, the real-time nature of things, right? So you're getting that information
Yeah.
freshly baked. So you're able to share that across multiple platforms. So this can be on a website through a web portal that your customers can log into securely, or it can be on your mobile phone. Just so many ways to consume the report.
Hmm.
All right, and I just really want to do a plug here for the Spire connector. If you're not aware that there is an official Spire connector, seamless
Yeah.
integration with Microsoft Power BI. And what this allows, again, is that real-time access for analysis, right? So you can unlock cross-departmental insight from your Spire data. And these are just some of the tables that are available as soon as you launch the application or the actual
Mhm.
connector. You can get access to accounts, contacts, customers, inventory, which gives you a broad sort of latitude of analysis that you can perform. And it gives you a lot of creative capability to build quite robust reports.
Mhm. And folks, when I come back on the screen, I'm going to show you where that Power BI connector is and how you and your partner can work on connecting that. But Shannon's going to get into the nitty gritty of it all right now. So go ahead.
Fabulous. All right, so what are some of the types of reports that you can create in Power BI? So there's the standard reports, which would be very similar to an Excel report where you're designing dashboards or report pages, and this is done in that desktop application, which is then published to the web. There's also another area within the Power BI ecosystem. It's not as popular, but for a lot of the legacy systems that are still requiring pixel perfect, almost crystal type reports, you can create what's called paginated report within the Power BI context. So for users who are familiar with the old SQL days, SSRS, they're pretty much the cousin to the SSRS system. They've just ported that over into Power BI. So not as popular, but there are some use cases where folks and companies still need that ability to have pixel perfect printed reports.
Hmm.
And then there's the mobile reporting as well. So right out of the box, when you have a Power BI license, you will also get access to the Power BI mobile app, which means that you can actually create a mobile-friendly version of the same report that you create on the desktop. And this doesn't require any code, right? So it's basically a responsive report. And I tell you, this is a fantastic sort of value add, because now if I'm a business owner or if I'm a CFO or if I'm a line manager and I'm on the go, I can keep my finger on the pulse, pull up my phone, and I'm getting just-in-time reporting, which is fantastic, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's worth mentioning to think about who's building, who's seeing these reports. The paginated reports, yeah, there are still use cases for that. You're presenting to a board, you're presenting maybe to the bank, you're presenting something to somebody maybe outside of the organization that, you want it to look a certain way. That's still something that people do. I love it. My CEO has sent me Power BI reports on my mobile looking at the performance that we're doing, and it is absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
No, it's great, right? And a lot of this, again, is right out of the box. So the whole sort of value prop for Microsoft is to make this as simple and seamless and integrated as possible. All right.
Hmm.
Now, just before we cut over to the demo, I do want to give you as much flavoring of what's available in the application as possible, all right? So I want to talk briefly just about AI-assisted data analytics as we are sort of entering into the era of AI, and Microsoft Power BI has essentially started the work already to integrate AI as a part of the workflow, all right? So this is another benefit, is that you don't have to go out and procure expensive licensing for various AIs. This will be built right within Power BI. However, there is a specific license for Copilot, but I want to showcase the capability is there. And what this allows you to do is AI-assisted driven reports. So maybe you're not an analyst or you're not savvy. This will allow you to do very similar sort of querying like you would do on a chat GPT, albeit this is built on top of your own data, whether it's Spire or some other system. You can query that information and derive whole entire reports, all right? This is still in its beta phase, so there's a lot of improvements, but I can tell you this, in another 6 to 12 months, this thing is going to be able to churn out some really good reports. But again, looking at how the tool is also providing you with future capabilities as the growing need for understanding and consuming data is going to be critical for success and competitive advantage.
So Shannon, before you jump into the demo, let me get this straight. With the addition of Copilot into Power BI, at some point, maybe even a little bit in the beta phase, someone who has no Power BI experience, perhaps, or very, very little, okay, can go in if they've got the Spire connector going with Power BI and dictate the kind of dashboard they would like to see. Tell Copilot, build me a dashboard that shows me my top products sold, to which customers, and are there any that are on standing orders or whatever I want to know
Yep.
about, and are there any purchase orders outstanding in relation to these particular items. So I'm going across different modules and then reach into my CRM at the same time and show me how many prospects are interested in that item I'm querying about. And I don't have to know the formulas or where to
You
drag
got it.
something. I'll just be able to tell it what I want, and it'll produce a beautiful little chart for me with my Spire data, right?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
exactly the goal. And I know
Guys,
it's this is
like
wizardry, I tell you.
wild, right? Wizardry, absolute wizardry. All right, why don't you show us some stuff? Because I know our friends in the audience want to see maybe just building a basic report, even.
Yep, sounds good. All right, so
Cool.
let's just jump into that. What I'll do, I'll come back if we have some time at the end because I do want to touch on the licensing because that's kind of a bit
Yes.
of a hot topic, especially amongst the Spire user group. But let's dive right into a demo here. So what I have here is the Power BI desktop. So here is where you will launch the desktop. This is the blank canvas. I'm not going to go through all the buttons and knobs and so on. We're going to just see how quickly and easily we can spin up a report relatively quickly. So this is actually using a Spire demo database, and I've just pulled in for the sake of this demo. I have two tables. So this is our inventory group and our sales invoice items. Two tables that comes stock within the Spire connector, all right? And so I can expand on these here, and you can see I have all of my fields. Katie, I'm glad you mentioned the UDFs, because guess what? The
We
UDFs
got
are
them.
also passed through here as well. So they
Yeah.
will pass through the connector and you will be able to access those fields within your Power BI data set. All right,
Mm.
so let's go ahead and let's create our first graph. So here to my right, you'll see I have my library of different graphs that I can use here. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on a standard bar graph. And you can see here, I have a bunch of inputs here in my, what we call the input well. So I can populate this graph quite easily. If you are an Excel user, a lot of this will be very familiar. All right, so the learning curve is not as steep. But here I'm going to go for my invoice date from my sales invoice item. I'm going to expand on that here, and I'm going to just pull in the month. Let's get that over here in the x-axis, and I'm going to get some values in there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to get my extended price in the y-axis, and there you have it right away. I have a standard bar chart, right? Very easy, not complex, and we can do a whole lot of things here. Time wouldn't suffice to go through it, but we can change the color, and we have full sort of capabilities of formatting this graph. I can also add data labels as well. So now, I can get those data points there for
Mm.
more information. All right. So let's keep going and see if we can add a few more. So that's just a standard bar graph. I'm going to throw in here a donut chart, right? Who doesn't love a good pie or a donut chart,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
I'm hungry.
I'm
It's
going to,
lunchtime.
yeah, exactly. Always happens. I'm gonna head out to Timmy's after.
Yeah.
So here we have, now I want you to notice that we have two tables, but with Power BI, we can join these tables together as well, right? Again, the
Right.
whole idea is to tell a holistic story, for our analysis sake. So here, what I'm going to do is probably let me look inside of my inventory groups here. And I have a few, so let's go with our sales department. I'm going to bring that into the legend,
Mhm.
right? And then I'm going to take the values. I need to do some comparative analysis to see,
Mhm.
based on the department, where things are. Maybe I can do, let's go with the extended price here and the value. And there you have it. So now, really quickly, I get a breakdown, segmentation of my departments,
Mhm.
and I can see that. And what's great is because we're looking at this holistically, if I click on an area, so let me go here. If I click
Mhm.
on, let's say, the weights, I want to do some analysis there. If you
Mhm.
notice here that the chart above also filters, right? So there
Yeah.
is that interconnectivity between the visuals, which is really
Mhm.
great. So if you're doing some correlative sort of analysis, this is just right out of the box, right? You've seen how
Mhm.
quick and easy it is for me to do.
Mhm.
All right, so
And
let's
then you were talking about before, sorry to interrupt you. You're talking about
yeah,
again
sure,
the importance of data, right? And I
yeah.
know you're working with Spire's sample data in Spire Health, and I know because I recognize the sales departments that are associated to product codes in that database. And
Mhm.
those product codes are also those user defined fields. If you want to just highlight, like just over there in your menu, hover over
Yeah.
those UDF. So those product codes in
Oh,
that sample
sorry.
database are associated or commissionable earnings to those salespeople. So that's why we're seeing that there. So one could even add a commission report now to this.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely, right? Like you can, all the fields are there. So think about it. You have all the ingredients to bake whatever cake you want or whatever
Mhm.
recipe, right? So,
Yeah.
and if you want to see these in a table format, well, you can switch over here to the table view to the left here.
Mhm.
And then we can now get more details. So here we have the UDFs here and so on. So we can see that kind of table format. And you can
Mhm.
perform filters as well, just like you would in Excel. A lot of folks
Mhm.
like this kind of look and feel. So you do have
Mhm.
that capability to switch between views, which is quite
Mhm.
handy. All
Yeah,
right.
knowing your data is important. That was really what I was getting at here is knowing your data, knowing again garbage in, garbage out to be able to have this work the way you want it to work. So go on, add some more stuff for us. This is exciting.
Awesome. Yeah. So why don't we add a map, right? Here's the thing, right? There's many ways in which we can represent information, right?
Mhm.
At the end of the day, we want to be able to glean insight and we want to do that quick and easy. So if you do have geographical information like address or postal code or province, you want to render that onto a map to see, maybe run a heat map or do something along those lines. Guess what? It's really easy here. There are some mapping tools. You can just simply drag and drop that in here. So I'm going to look inside of my sales invoice, I believe. I do have, you see the little globe icon lets me know that this is some sort of geographical or geocoding, which is my my province. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop that into the location, right? And now, I can start to surface my data onto the maps. And guess
Mhm.
what? Just like before, it interacts with the other elements on my dashboard. Now,
Mhm.
this is just not really giving me much insight. So what I can do is I want to look at the average cost from my sales invoice, and I'm going to throw that inside of the bubble size. Now, this adds context, right? So this puts my data
Wow.
in context. So now I can see larger proportion of my sales, or the average cost in
Mhm.
proportion to the bubble size, right? And I can zoom in
Mhm.
and so on, right? So
Mhm.
just fantastic. And look what happens when I hover over that. I also get a little tooltip that tells me the value, right? And I
Yep.
can stack that tooltip as well. So if I wanted to add the average margin, so I can just bring that into this tooltip area. I can also bring in that extended price. So now when I hover over, I get all three of those metrics stacked, and I can just, it's again, it's super
Yeah.
responsive, right? And
Yeah.
contextual.
And this is meaningful corporate insight, folks. This is what
There you
we're
go.
talking about because you can imagine like visuals are so important. What happens in our brains when we see visuals as opposed to just data in a spreadsheet, right? You can imagine how you can have that insight. Like, where are your hottest customers? Who is buying what at the most best price, most lowest price? What should you be doing about these things? That whole map thing is just, it really gets the synapses in your brain firing, I think. So it's really powerful. So,
Absolutely. And folks, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? There are so many visual components within the application. But again, the key is quality data. I can't stress that enough. This works because we've spent a lot of time, and this is what we coach, what we teach, and what we really promote as data evangelists, is that you really need to focus on having a good data governance structure. Doesn't matter the size of your organization, because it will pay out, especially in spades towards the end when you're using a tool
yeah.
such as Power BI and even in Excel, right? It's just best practice. All
Hmm.
right, so what we'll do is I was going to create another one, but I think for time, what we'll do is we'll just publish this report and see what it looks like inside of the workspace online. So typically the workflow is you will develop your report here. Once you're satisfied with that, you will go ahead and publish that report, and that report will reside in what we call the Power BI service, which is the online web portal. And this is how you will be sharing and disseminating your reporting, whether it's internal or external. All right. So here is kind of the finished product, if you will. If we added a couple more visuals, you can see everything works as it does in the desktop, albeit this is now in a web portal that you can now grant access to your users. So this can be your external customers or your internal users. Really, it's up to you how that's shared. And guess what here, folks? It's secured, right? So Microsoft has invested a lot to ensure that that security, it's backed by secure sharing. If you want to mask, confidential data, there's security protocols to take care of that, all built within the application. So as a matter of sharing, it's quite easy. There's a share button right up at the top here, and you can share this by simply adding the email of the recipients or the group, just as you would an email. Once you fire this off, this will give them a notification saying, hey, you've been granted access to this report. And once that happens, they'll be able to click on a link. So this is not sending them a PDF or a file. It's a live real-time link that will bring them to this view, this kind of web portal view, where they can interact with that report, all right? And you can set permissions and all that good stuff, all right? You
Hmm.
can also create what's called subscriptions. So where if there's a specific cadence where this report needs to go out, so maybe you want to send this report out to your senior executive team, and you want this to be on a weekly basis. So maybe every
Nice.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1:45, you can change the time zone and so on. Once you've set this subscription, this will generate an automated email that will go out to all the recipients. You can even attach basically a report to it, so it can attach the PDF of that report. So if they want to have that, it's available as well. But essentially, this just really promotes, one, adoption, and two, it gives the users an easy way to receive and consume that report. So that is another great way in which you can share those reports. All right.
Absolutely.
So I know we're drawing near on time, so I'm going to pivot from this demo here. So hopefully that gives you a good flavor here. This is a very simple dashboard. Once you really start getting into it, you can create something that looks a little bit more like this, where you have high-level cards that give you a pulse check on some of your key performance indicators. You can do a lot more interesting things. Again, like I said, it's a tip of the iceberg. Time doesn't suffice to all the features that's here, but you can also have sub-reports that you can drill through, and then you can get more detail, granular detail on, for example, department revenue, revenue to previous year, and so on and so forth. Okay,
Mhm.
so again, there's a lot of capability available for you.
Yeah, definitely not limited to accounting and not limited to inventory. Like, you can reach into the different data dictionaries that exist,
Yep,
and really combine for some powerful information there. Now, I'm glad you're going to talk about licensing, because I know things have changed over the last year and a bit in the Microsoft world. Surprise, surprise, things changed in the Microsoft world. But it does matter that our friends in the audience understand what the licensing is. I don't want people to
yes,
walk away. They heard you say free. That's the word people remember the most.
that's
So
right.
why don't we explain a little bit about how the licensing works?
No, absolutely. So when I say free, just to kind of add context and to preface what that means,
Yes.
is the actual application is free. So unlike Excel, which is a part of a bundle that you purchase, like an E5 license or E3, Power BI as an application, you can download that today. You can go on the website and it is free. You can actually start building a report just like we did. The Where you will need the license is how it's distributed, right? So for every user that needs to access that report vis-a-vis the web or through the mobile, that end user will require a license. And so that's how Microsoft, has kind of designed their
Right.
product offering. So there are three sort of flavors of licensing, and these have changed. The price has gone up slightly. I think now it's $14 for the base user, which is what we call the Power BI Pro user, which is the minimum license that you would need to start sharing your report. So if there are 5 people in your organization that need to consume this report, that means you need 5 Pro license
Times
at a
14.
minimum.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Okay. Yeah.
There's also some premium user options as well and capacities. These are for larger enterprises. So I think more than likely, most of our Spire clients are using the Power BI Pro
Pro.
level license, and that's
Mm-hmm.
more than sufficient enough. Okay. Um, there's some links on Microsoft that can show the difference between the two. And also, if you desire to share that externally, securely with your clients, there's some different options in licensing for that. But for the most part, the Pro is kind of the baseline that you would need to get started if you would like to share your reports.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good.
So I think that's my bit, Katie.
That's
Unless
your bit. You're
yeah,
good to go. Well, Shannon, you know what? It's an endless possibility tool, and I like the fact that users can download the app for free today, and they can start using it. Meaning, you can start building reports with Spire and Microsoft Power BI, and I'm going to show you where that connector exists. And then if you want to be able to share, like Shannon, you were showing us, and it generates a URL that you can email or send over to whoever you'd like, that's when you start paying for the privilege to do
yeah,
so. So however many people you want to be able to share that to, they're going to need a license to see that, whether it's on their laptops or on their mobiles or wherever, they're going to need that license. And $14 a month per head is really per seat is really not bad at all. Because what we've done at Spire is we've built a connector, a Power BI connector that's included for you when you maintain your Spire software assurance on an annual basis. It's one of the perks of maintaining that. If you don't know how to access the Spire Server Administrator from your desktop, you will need the permission to do so. This is not a privilege granted to just anybody. So if you don't have it, ask your boss why. Maybe you're not supposed to have it. But if you do, access the server administrator or your partner can help you do that. And it'll launch just the browser. And now you're at the back end server administrator of what we call Spire. It's also our web version that can, because it is a browser based end application, you can pull that up on your mobile or any device as well. But in the administration panel, which again, you may or may not have access to, under integrations, here is the Power BI connector that you're going to need after you've downloaded the Power BI app, right? And from there, your Spire partner can help you if needed, that they're proficient in these things and they're very well supported in that as well. So it's easy to access. It's included in your annual software assurance. It works through Spire's API. The API information, if you're not familiar with that, is in our Spire website under resources, Spire API documentation. All of that is there. If you are somebody who knows how to do these things and you're curious as to how that data is going back and forth. But your Spire partner definitely is the best person to help you in these situations. So just getting back now to wrapping up our session here today. First thing to think about, garbage in, garbage out. Your data is so important. And if you have data integrity issues or you have inconsistencies in your data, talk to your Spire partner about how to clean that up. We have a great import tool in Spire. We're able to import into almost every module, and there's various aspects of each of the different types of data and where they need to fit when you're doing that. You want to talk to your partner, maybe you have an exercise where you need to clean up some data before you can actually start making good use of Power BI. And think about user permissions also when we talk about garbage in and garbage out, because it will make an impact on how that data is changing and being manipulated within your organization. So think about those things. Shannon, thank you so much. I just, you're right. There's not enough time in an hour webinar to get in depth to Power BI or to even get in depth with Spire. I wish I could spend a lot more time with people, but this fall we are going to spend more time with people, and our open houses are coming up really, really quickly. Folks, if you have not signed up for an open house yet in a city close to you, I highly recommend that you do. Shannon will be joining us in Mississauga and in London, Ontario. Just can't be everywhere at once. You've got Power BI reports to help people with, right? So I'm
That's
going to
right.
be very excited. And folks, if you're going to come to Mississauga or London, you'll get a chance to talk to Shannon and see how he can help you the way that he's helped other Spire customers before. We will be in Winnipeg, Langley, Montreal, Mississauga, and London this fall for a full day of Spire. Whereas this is only an hour and this is free, you are getting a full day from 8 a.m. till 4:30 p.m. of Spire information. We're going to go over tips and tricks. We're going to go over processes. We're going to go over the life of an order in Spire. We're going to hit all the modules: GL, payroll, AP, AR, production, inventory, sales, purchase orders. We're going to talk about resources. We're going to show you new resources in Spire for learning and ongoing professional development. We are going to share with you what's coming in Spire 4.0. Okay. Also coming in that will be an enhancement to be able to see those Power BI reports in Spire as well. We're working hard on all those things. Lots of new stuff to show you in 4.0. So we'd love for you to come. There is a charge. It's $75 for the day. So not only do you get a full day of learning, but we will feed you well also, I promise. And keep that in mind. To talk to your Spire partner, you can register for the open house on the Spire website if you'd like. We'd love to have you there. And just as a closing thought, you know as much as I do, and Shannon, I know this is true for you too, that the number one source of new business comes from existing customers. So if you're a Spire customer and you know of someone or a business that might benefit from using Spire, we will reward you if they come over and make an investment into Spire. We'll give them a discount and we'll give you a discount on your software assurance renewal. So keep that in mind. We'd love for you to refer a new business. And if you're new to the Spire world, welcome. I hope we get to see you all in the fall. Shannon, I'm looking very much forward to seeing you in Mississauga and London. It'll be great to be able to chat it up with you some more. I look forward to introducing you to more Spire clients in person as well. It'll be a lot of fun. And thank you so much for your time, Shannon.
Absolutely. It's been a thrill and a pleasure as always. And I hope that for those that are attending, that you're walking away with some curiosity and learning something new about Power BI. Again, please feel to just reach out to Katie with any questions around Power BI. I'm a data geek, so I do this stuff all day long and I love it. So thanks again, Katie.
Yep. My pleasure. You can find out more about the Power BI Coach on our Spire integration page on our website. You can also talk to your Spire partner. Many of them have gotten to meet Shannon and have worked with him, so they can also help point you in that direction. And of course, if you need anything, I'm always available. kgriffin@spiresystems.com. Thank you so much, everyone. Be well, stay healthy, enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you soon. Bye.